Hello friends, welcome to another video from my series Quick Thoughts On, in which I always talk about different stories from the rich Star Trek universe. Last week, the next episode of Star Trek Lower Decks aired. It was called Cupid's Errant, and these are my honest opinions about it. This episode is kind of good. It is kind of funny and it is kind of cute. And the kind of part is the main problem. We have 3 different plot lines this time and no teaser. Is this the first episode of any Star Trek show ever which had no teaser? Because that's a new thing for me. The main plot line is a proper Star Trek story. The Cerritos has to work with a newer ship called the Vancouver, and their task is to blow up a moon. The moon is a threat to the planet, but people from the planets are against it, and of course for different reasons. So now the task of the captain is be a Picard and try to find a diplomatic solution to this problem. And I kind of like this plotline. The second plotline is with Tandy and Rutherford. They are geeking out over the Vancouver, because it has so many tech upgrades and cool gadgets. And they want them because geeks and nerds love playing with cool gadgets, right? This is the worst of the 3 plotlines, to be honest. I don't like it and personally would cut it out completely. The third, and at the same time the best plotline, in my opinion, is with Boimler, his girlfriend, and Mariner. This story is basically a sci-fi version of every 1990s romantic comedy, and I think it's really enjoyable. I'll be speaking about this one most of the time because it's the most memorable one. Brad found a girlfriend, a female lieutenant from the Vancouver. Mariner, of course, mocks him for it. She even thinks that she must be a hologram or an android or an alien, but no, Barb, as she's called, is just an ordinary blonde human female. I guess she's supposed to be attractive, but I don't like any of the character designs on the show, so I'm not the correct person to talk about that. Mariner is shocked. Her first words are computer and program, and this again shows us why she is such a bad character. She actually thinks that Brad, the guy who she calls her friend, is so unattractive that she can't believe for a moment that an attractive blonde human female would be able to fall in love with him. With friends like this, who needs enemies, right? But Brad had a competition. A huge black guy who is built like a statue, called Jet. Barb says that they dated in the past, and she's openly flirting with him in front of her new boyfriend. So of course, even if you haven't seen this episode, you know what will happen. Brett starts to be jealous, and he starts to behave like a jerk. First he interrupts her during her briefing, later he dresses up in a combination of all of the coolest clothes from the 20th century, and interrupts them in the mess hall. Brett manages to spill beer all over her body, and the creators of this so-called adult cartoon completely miss a perfect chance of doing a Miss Wet t-shirt joke or something like that. So of course Barb is mad at him and leaves with Jet, who doesn't give a damn about his reputation. And Mariner is of course not helping. On contrary, she tries to check if Barb is an android. She even cuts her hair to get a DNA sample, but to her surprise, Barb is not a parasite. She still appears to be a woman. So later in the hangar, when Brad and Barb get together again, Mariner jumps at her and pulls her pants down, in front of all of the colleagues. I really like Crazy Mariner. She's such a better character than the quote-unquote normal Mariner. She still doesn't behave like a human being, but at least the stuff she's doing is funny. The reason why she did it is that she was sure that Barb is a reptilian. Did she listen to Alex Jones or something? Well, actually, we see in a flashback scene that when she was on Deep Space Nine, or at least I think it was supposed to be Deep Space Nine, she has seen her friend being eaten by a shapeshifter. You know, this flashback wasn't funny, it was genuinely scary, and I realized one thing during this scene. I was having an actual human emotion. This is the episode which somehow managed to connect with me on an emotional level. Good work for this, credit where credit is due. So, Captain Mummy manages to make a deal with the fish aliens, and the destruction of the moon has been officially greenlit, and Barb and Brad are in a shuttle out there. Mariner tries to warn Brad, and this is the famous scene from the trailer in which she finds him naked. The only funny thing about this scene is that he has a black square between his legs. Another opportunity for an adult joke missed. By the way, she seems to be kind of traumatized by this sight for some reason. Funny, I have seen most of my friends, both male and female, naked at least once, but I guess that what's normal in Eastern Europe differs from what's considered to be normal in the USA. Anyway, he falls down, loses consciousness, and we have a nice catfight between Barb and Mariner. The funny twist is that Barb thought that Mariner is an alien parasite who wants to harm Brad, and she wants to protect him from her. So this guy has two women fighting over him, and he doesn't even know it. Kind of sad really, but of course they talk it through, and when Mariner manages to scan Barb and finds out that she's a human, they are suddenly best friends. Out of all of the crazy stuff which happened in this episode, I find this to be the least believable part of the story. And after this, we got another unexpected twist. See, Rian Johnson, this is how you correctly subvert the audience's expectations. We find out that Brad has an alien parasite on his head, and somehow nobody ever noticed it. And the parasite didn't fall off during showering or sleeping. This parasite, which by the way looks like a Yoda's dick with eyes, has pheromones which made Brad irresistible to any potential partner. So that's why she fell in love with him, because he's a complete loser who has nothing interesting about him, which women could find attractive. You know, it's sad that they have decided to make this guy the target of all of the show's jokes. It used to make me angry a few episodes back, but now it just makes me sad. This just feels like I'm watching a good guy getting bullied by absolutely everybody, and I can't do anything about it. Instead of helping him, I'm forced to laugh at his misery. I'm sorry, I can't. And by the way, why did the parasite not work on Mariner? Did I miss something, or did they just ignore this little plot hole? But whatever, Brad is single again, which I guess is supposed to be a good thing. Mariner has a new friend, which I guess is supposed to be a good thing. And both Tandy and Rutherford are now thieves. They stole the new cool tech toys, which they wanted. And I guess stealing is now okay. Do you remember when Star Trek used to have stories with morals? Because I do, and I miss those times. But the episode is over. You know, this episode is a pleasant surprise, especially after the huge letdown, which was the previous episode. It has many genuinely funny scenes. But at the same time, I have a feeling that the writer of this episode didn't try so hard to be funny, and that's a good thing. I didn't care about the storyline with Tandy and Rutherford. I wasn't very fond of the Captain storyline too, but I truly loved the Mariner, Boimler, Barb storyline, which means, on my standard scale from 0 to 10, where 0 is complete garbage, 10 is a masterpiece, and 5 is just average, I would give this episode 7 out of 10. One of the best episodes so far. Reminds me kind of on Futurama, actually, now that I think about it. But as always, these were just my opinions. Let me know, what did you think about this episode? Did you love it, hate it, or do you agree with my above average ratings? Let me know down in the comment section. Thank you very much for watching, and see you in a couple of days. Thanks and bye.